Hi, my name is Wingo. I'm a professor within the Cybersecurity Studies department at the College of Information and Cyberspace. Well, I'll start with my passion for national defense began when I graduated from the Naval Academy. And I come from a military family. My father was in the U.S. Army. And after graduating from Annapolis and getting my commission, I was a Navy SEAL officer for several years. After that, I went off to Yale Law School, and for many years I was in law and policy regarding technology, and specifically with critical infrastructure like telecommunications networks and smart grid. And at one point I worked for several years at Google. And so the reason I wanted to come over to college is at this point in history, we're facing challenges as a nation and together with our allies. And so the chance to reach out to leaders who are going to shape nations really on cyberspace and information and what that means, for me the chance to participate in that and contribute was something I couldn't pass up. I would say for me it's definitely policy. I was a lawyer for several years, and I was actually a federal lobbyist for 7 years, so I had a chance to work with Congress, with different federal agencies, and I've had international experience that goes back to my time as a Navy SEAL. Internationally I helped with counter-drug efforts, so I would say definitely on the policy and law side. But also, I was exposed to emerging technology. So beyond, definitely telecom networks, I worked at the Federal Communications Commission for several years as an expert on issues with the internet, but also in the homeland security aspects of our telecom networks, whether that was, wireline or fiber optic going in and growing, satellite communications, wireless. And at one point I worked for the late Senator Ted Stevens, Senate Commerce Committee. But as far as emerging technology and the technical details, even though I haven't been flying command line on a computer as a computer engineer or computer scientist, I have worked with those folks, particularly when I was at Google. I was at Google when the attacks out of China happened, for example, and really enjoyed getting into the details, rolling up my sleeves. And in fact, I was encouraged by those experiences to go out and get my certified ethical hacker credential, for example. So I'm very comfortable with emerging technology and critical infrastructure and how that plays out within the realm of policy and law. Well, I'm a new professor, so at this point I'm on a teaching team. I'll be teaching courses within the class at Critical Infrastructure Protection. I'll also be on the teaching team for terrorism and crime in cyberspace, and then also some of the cyber law courses I'll probably help out with going forward. I'd say making the adjustment from being in the private sector, and I've been government before, within the context of military, of course, and then also at the FCC and the Congress. But I think readjusting for having been several years out in the private sector, and resources too. There are resources constraints, but I think creativity loves restraint. So we figure a way to work through. So for example, I think a challenge for me is being so excited about our operational technology and information technology labs. And for the OT lab, we have SCADA and ICS systems that are mock-ups, and we can show exploits. I so want to bring in more resources and connect it up to the outside world, have ways to perhaps bring in simulations. And so you can imagine the biggest challenge I have is taking the longer view and realizing how, within the constraints that we have for budget and the realities of being on the government team, how to work through that. But it's absolutely something we can do, and I'm excited about that. Well, I've got 3 daughters, and so I think one of my biggest hobbies is laughing because they keep me just inspired and laughing all the time. My 17-year-old, my oldest, is inspired by mathematics and chemical engineering. So we have amazing conversations, and I'm just so proud of her. And then my middle daughter is 10 years old. She loves the game The Sims, and she's also, we wrote a Hello World program in Python, and we built a robot together. So my middle daughter just, definitely she's on a STEM path as well. And my youngest is 7, and she wants to be a wrestler, and I'm a jiu-jitsu person and martial artist at boxing college. So all my girls have learned about the martial arts, if you will. But my daughters are just, they're so important to me. And I'm also proud my wife is a judge in the city. She's a full trial court judge. And so, I haven't practiced law as a lawyer, day to day for a while, but the ability to come home and have someone who is definitely still in the legal world in the biggest way is kind of fun. But as far as hobbies, jiu-jitsu, I would say, if I could get back to it. I also, having qualified as a certified ethical hacker, I'd love to go, even further with developing, or playing around with making up a lab on my own. And I'm really interested in, for example, some of these indoor drones where you can, match up some computer vision systems, but figuring a way to, as a hobby, build out some things that could test the security aspects of that in a way that's, friendly for home use is definitely on my to-do list. Absolutely. My advice is get here as soon as you can. And the reason why is you have such a deep bench. I've been here a couple months, and I've just been inspired by the range of people here who have done different things within information and cyberspace. Folks with 30 years of experience on protecting networks at the highest level in ways that really give them the experience to teach and give any prospective student what they need to make levels at the strategic decisions at the strategic level and to contribute right after you get out of these courses. My other advice would be is when you do get here is to remember that there's so many talented students. Your fellow students are a wealth of information as well. And one of the things that we look to do here is not only instruct but also to connect. And so we are looking to make sure that relationships are cultivated between students, ones that will go on and I believe have implications for our national security, because I know that our students will call on each other when things actually happen in the real world, and that also goes for the professors. They can always reach back to us, and so I want them to understand that those relationships are a big part of why you want to be here at the College of Information and Cyberspace as well.